Hi, I'm going straight into the painting here, just getting these first washes down and settling the shapes. Not going to do anything complicated at this stage, just letting the water move around and seeing where the light wants to sit. Very watery Payne's grey. Just going to take this paint all around the top of the painting. And just being mindful to leave the area where the water is clear of any paint. Just bringing the wash down. I've got the border at a slight angle so the watercolours run down. And this is very, very watery. Just enough to kill the white of the paper. Just bringing the wash down. Not being too careful. And bringing it down to the horizon where the water line is. I've got a pencil drawing here which I've done and recorded, and you can use that yourselves if you want to have a go at painting this. You'll find it on my Patreon site. Still going around the painting using a large mop brush. This particular mop brush is a size 6 Rosemary & Co. red dot collection brush. Holds a lot of water, a lot of paint. Now I've let that dry. I'm just taking out some of these pencil lines using a putty eraser. And a bit more information, I'm using a quarter sheet of Saunders Waterford 140 pounds rough paper. So there's a nice rough surface on it. And I did the drawing with a 2B pencil, which is the grade I like to work with when I'm doing watercolours. Now mixing up Payne's grey and cobalt turquoise, still using the mop brush. I start doing this mass of trees at the top of the waterfall. Now as I work across this, I'm thinking about the composition more than anything else. It's really just a case of arranging the big shapes so that the eye moves through the scene without getting stuck. And I'm not chasing detail, just trying to keep the main forms clear and readable. If the structure's right, the rest tends to fall into place. You can use a variety of greens here, dipping into various colours there. That was sap green, and I quite like sap green with Chinese white. Not everyone likes to use white in their watercolours, but I don't see no reason why not. I quite like that. It kind of kills the green off a little bit. and bringing the wash down top to bottom. Now this kind of landscape always reminds me of the Algamo district in northern Ontario, and it's the sort of places that the Group of Seven painted, famous group of artists in Canada. There's steep rock faces, cold rivers, waterfalls, dense spruce forest. It's quite a hard landscape. There's nothing gentle about it. It's just big, simple, elemental forms. That idea of stripping things back sits at the back of my mind when I'm painting scenes like this. This is going to be a series of washes, quite intricate really in parts. It's worth having a go yourselves here, doing your versions of it. Now I'm darkening it up a little bit along the edge where the rocks are. I want that part to stand out. So I'm being quite careful. I've drawn the rock shapes, so I can use that as a guide to put the dark paint on with this mop. Paints I use are a mixture of Winsor & Newton, artist quality, and Jackson's own quality, own artist quality paints. I just want this vegetation to be varied. So I've gone over once with a wash, and while that's still wet, I'm just touching in areas with a darker wash. A little bit more blue and green in the darker areas. But still looking at the overall composition. Not being too finicky, too fiddly, which is why I'm still using the large mop there, going into cobalt turquoise, Payne's grey, and dipping into sap green as well. Leaving a few holes here and there. Just let the whole area breathe a little bit really. Maybe do some indication of some branches. Don't want it just to be a solid mass of green. It's going to be achieved by breaking things up. Working my way down from top to bottom. I have to try and keep up with me with these colours. I mean, you can see me dipping into the palette there. Going darker now, Payne's grey. That will let the outline of these rocks show out quite a bit more. Bring them forward. That's what I want to do. Still using a big mop. Size 6. It's quite a large mop. It's a nice point in it. Keep plenty of paint on there. Keep the tip nice and wet, covered in paint. Just thinking about where the shadows would be on these on these lower rocks behind the two people. Dipping into sepia, mixing it with the Payne's grey on the palette. You see I'm using quite a large palette. And I've also changed brush now. I'm using a size 12 Rosemary & Co. pointed round. This is the series 301. Another brush that has an excellent point, holds a lot of paint. Great for doing rocks and trees. Working my way around thinking about the tones. I've got the drawing done where I want to do where I want the paint to go, where I want to leave it. And then areas like this, I'm just losing that edge with a tissue. Just taking the paint off, blurring it a bit. Adding some blue to the mixture. Bringing this down with that size 8 brush, size 12 brush. Very slight indication of some movement there in the water as it cascades down. Lots of sepia in this painting, building up the layers. Now we're into the slower, more detailed washes, and I've sped this part up a little bit. Using the size 12 brush still. Bringing the wash down. This is also the point where everybody starts worrying about mud and everything looks like it's merging and misbehaving for a moment, but that's normal. The only real danger here is fiddling, as if I keep poking about it, that's when it can go wrong. So I'm letting these areas run together and calm down on their own. It always dries softer than it looks anyway, so that should be okay. I'm not chasing perfection here really, just keeping the shapes clean enough that the eye can make sense of them later on. It's very much a case with these types of watercolor paintings that you trust your instincts and just build up these layers where you think the tone should be, and then when you finish the painting, have a look at it a few days later, look at it with fresh eyes, and then you'll see whether you've done things correctly or not. It's always very difficult at the time when you're doing them. Things look patchy because you've done it. Very much a mixture of Payne's grey and sepia. The majority of this is just building up these tones. I want too many different colours in this painting. All these similar colours all tie all together. dark against light, light against dark. Now I'm doing the waterline here. This is sepia. Just using a size 12 brush. I'm just doing lines, bands of colour where the waterfall, the water from the waterfall hits the lower part and then spreads out, forming these ripples. I'm not using white. This is just the Payne's grey undertone and going over with sepia, doing the lines. And also I'm going to be looking at the tones of the rocks above and the plants, and I'm going to do the reflections to match, which will look very effective. As the painting goes on, you'll see what I mean in a little while. Still using a bigger brush and losing some of this white paper here with some watery mixture. Cobalt turquoise, cobalt blue, Payne's grey, shades of bluey green. Doing this area above the waterfall again. Very important. It's where the eye starts, comes down the waterfall to the area where the two people are looking at it. Adding greens and white, merging them. Just be confident and try and get the mixture similar so it doesn't form this mud. And leave areas dry. And then don't fiddle about too much either. As I say, it's quite an intricate painting, this one. There's a lot of subtlety with these shades of green, grey and blue, giving the effect of foliage. Doing my best to break things up, dabbing it with a tissue, merging it with water. There's quite a lot going on here. That's why I've sped it up a bit, because it's it'd be quite a long video otherwise. Very exciting and very enjoyable to paint, and quite exhilarating. Still, always takes a while for the effect to show to yourself, even for me. And I've been painting quite a long time, doing these kind of paintings. When I do the masses of foliage, kind of hope for the best, and then look at it a day or two afterwards. Maybe put some photographs on my phone, have a look at it every now and then you'll just see it kind of pop and change and look like random rocks and trees, bushes, like nature would produce. I mean, the different light sources, reflections. There's those indication of some branches in the top left hand part of the painting. Packing in some real darks on this middle section, dipping into neutral tint. This is Jackson's neutral tint. Looking at these rocks at the side of the waterfall now, and I want to get some darks in there to accentuate the white frothy part of the waterfall. Trying to put in a variety of marks here with the rocks to make them look convincing. Just building up these layers. And the composition is relatively simple, but takes a lot of thought and preparation before starting this kind of painting. Bringing in some greys, putting some darks next to that white area of water, and then there's a spray coming up just by these two people looking at it. That's why I put them there in the composition. Really make them stand out when I start painting them. Not really trying off this paper too much as I go. I've only done it a few times. I'm working relatively slowly so that areas are actually dry. I can go back over them without drying them off, which is quite nice. Don't like using the dryer on these paintings, but you do have to, especially the filmed ones, where you need things to have a little bit of momentum. And obviously I want you to be interested and to learn by these videos. Thinking about the shade of the light on these rocks, and also the reflections, which is I'm looking at now, putting in the darks where it's dark above. This is going to add to the beauty of the painting, but keeping those white lines there. I'm tempted to just fill the whole scene in and then with the water and then put white gouache there, but I'm not going to do that with this one. Everything's going to be true watercolorists, which will please the purists. Now I'm using a size 6, a size 8 Rosemary & Co. Sable blend. This is series 402. Just moving down to a slightly smaller brush. Putting a first wash on these two individuals standing by the rocks. Just doing the back of them where it's in shade. Just varying the colours with these two. They're fairly similar, but one's more blue, a bit more Payne's grey. I put the lady who's seated on the right hand side, just to vary them a little bit. Been very careful trying to get these proportions right, these two figures. I'm doing blending here with the top part of the painting now, using cobalt turquoise and some French ultramarine, Payne's grey, varying proportions. Let's just move back to normal speed now for this latter part of the painting. Once again, bringing the darks in against the light. As you can see, the darks making these light rocks, or the light bouncing off the rocks, making things really come to life. Keeping it all very random. Now, if you do want the outline drawings for these videos that I do, they are available on my Patreon site. And if you're not aware of my Patreon site, it's a place where I've got longer videos, ones that aren't featured on YouTube, and they are from start to finish, as these type are, but there's no breaks in them. There's the communities, and you can post your paintings, get comments and sometimes critiques. Really a place to help you develop, and you can also see where I'm at with my exhibition works in progress, and also you'll get the chance to see these YouTube videos earlier than when I put them onto YouTube. All the details of all the materials that I'm using and the Patreon site will be in the description below. Packing these darks in again now. You can see how effective it looks with these dark reflections. I'm just going to do darken some more up there now. Once again, mixing in bluey greens and blending it in. I mean, it does from certain angles look like monochrome. Really dark area on the left side, down on the right side, balancing out the painting. And then introducing much darker paint into these areas that I've already painted, blending out again with clean water on the edges. Put another wash on this fella with the hat on. With the bag, carrying the bag, the strap across his back. A nice point on this size 8 brush I've got, and we'll move on to a smaller brush soon, bigger brush, but I can get away with doing these fine areas with this for now. Adding some more sepia, just a little bit of neutral tint to this mixture, keeping it dark, looking at where the lights and darks would be and shadows. A lot of thought in this painting, and quite a lot of planning to get this to before I started doing this. Don't want to get anything obviously wrong here with this, the way these two figures really stand out. Using Payne's grey for the lady, the large white brimmed hat. She's just sat on the rocks there. Building up these washes. Not really fiddling here, it's just there's so many details to put in, things to darken up. So now I'm putting in some indication of some smaller rocks and stones, adding to the darks. The colour I used to like to use quite a lot, neutral tint. It's my favourite dark. Using that to do some of these rocks. Light on the top and shade on the bottom. Just a very slight indication of the edges of the rock there. I wanted to just make that the rock separate from the white of the water, but quite a lot of white paper that's been left in the centre part. Enjoying this part of the painting. Now this is sepia, and I'm just darkening this part of the reflection. Try it a little bit lighter, but I want this to be just a bit lighter than the left-hand side reflection. I want it to reflect the darkness of the rocks above. Once again, with this brush strokes, you'll see that I'm really just putting the paint on and leaving it. As I said earlier on, I don't want to create mud. Now I've moved on to the rigger brush now. This particular rigger brush is another Rosemary's brush. This is a #1 pure sable rigger, and it's series 88. If you want to use the same brushes as what I'm using here, all the details will be in the description, as I said, in the description below, so you don't need to write anything down. I'm putting in these dark reflection lines at the bottom of this small waterfall. Put lots of paint on this rigger brush. rolling it in the paint, trying to dip it in as few times as possible really. Just working my way around the painting now. I'll put some water on this back of this man who's standing there. I just thought there was too much paint on there, so I've removed a bit with this water and a tissue. So it's much lighter now, and I can let that dry and put some shade in there. When you're doing these figures, take your time. Try and get it right. There's no rush. Now I'm finishing them off with neutral tint and the rigger brush. Yeah, this is a couple enjoying the countryside in this wilderness of Canada. Lots of neutral tint going on here. Using it neat straight out of the paint well. You might ask why I don't just go over these figures once. Well, it's just the way I like to work, really building up these washes. And we all work slightly differently. All painters do. Just a very slight indication of the rims of these hats. Really taking my time with this paint to get this bit right. It's just a matter of knowing when to stop now, really. Pop my signature on, bottom right hand. And taking the masking tape off. Being very careful here not to tear the paper. I actually just caught a little bit there, even though I only just put the tape on a little while ago. For some reason it's just caught that edge of the watercolor paper. It doesn't matter too much, but I do like things to look neat, even if it hasn't got a mount on it. But if it gets to the point where it's framed, it will have a mount covering it. And that's about it. I think it's come together well enough. There's a few things I'd probably change next time, but that's how it goes. Right, that'll do. See you next time. Goodbye.